Ancient Athenaeum presents When the Sleeper Awakes by H.G. Wells. A deep investigative study. When H.G. Wells wrote When the Sleeper Awakes, he was wrestling with a future he no longer trusted. Unlike the distant evolutionary tragedy of the time machine, or the cosmic upheaval of the War of the Worlds, this novel projects its vision forward along a direct social line. No aliens arrive, no new species emerges. The world simply continues until it becomes unrecognizable. The idea of suspended animation had fascinated Wells since his student years, but here it becomes a social instrument rather than a marvel. Graham, the sleeper, does not awaken into enlightenment. He awakens into ownership. Through compound interest and legal inertia, his forgotten wealth has accumulated until he controls the economic machinery of the future world. This is capitalism extrapolated to absurdity, and then taken seriously. Graham is not a conqueror, he is an accident. Wells makes this clear from the start. The power he inherits was not seized, earned, or intended. It accrued silently, bureaucratically, in his absence. This was Wells's warning, that systems do not require malice to produce tyranny, only neglect. The future Graham awakens into is a vertical world, literally stratified by height. The wealthy live above, in towers and controlled spaces. The labouring masses dwell below, regimented and surveilled. Movement, communication, and even leisure are managed by centralised authority. Technology has advanced, but freedom has contracted. Wells is relentless in his attention to detail. Mechanical transport replaces walking. Recorded music replaces participation. Crowds move as units, not individuals. Language itself has thinned, reduced to slogans and functional exchange. The world is efficient, spectacular, and hollow. Graham is treated not as a person, but as a symbol. Competing factions attempt to control him, to use his authority as legitimacy. He becomes a living signature on documents he does not understand. Wells strips away the romantic fantasy of the sleeping king who returns to restore justice. Graham is disoriented, manipulated, and fundamentally out of place. This is one of Wells's most bitter reversals. Rebellion erupts, not as moral uprising, but as chaotic spectacle. The masses, long denied agency, lash out without vision. The ruling elites respond with aerial force and theatrical displays of power. Wells stages revolution not as heroic climax, but as confusion magnified by technology. The novel's conclusion is famously bleak. Graham attempts to assert moral authority, but he lacks knowledge, allies, and cultural grounding. His personal conscience is no match for institutional momentum. When he dies, ambiguous, possibly meaningless, the system continues. The future absorbs him and moves on. Unlike Wells's later planned society works, When the Sleeper Awakes offers no solution. It is diagnostic, not prescriptive. Written at the turn of the century, it reflects Wells's deepening anxiety about industrial capitalism, mass media, and the separation of power from responsibility. Importantly, Wells later revised the novel, sharpening its political edge. The 1910 version abandons some of the romantic melodrama in favour of starker critique. This revision signals Wells's evolution from speculative novelist to social theorist. When the Sleeper Awakes stands as one of the earliest dystopian novels of the modern age. Long before Orwell or Huxley, Wells imagined a future where control is exercised not through overt brutality, but through spectacle, dependency, and administrative inertia. The sleeper's tragedy is not that he wakes too late. It is that the world has learned to function without conscience. And in that silent efficiency, Wells leaves one of his most enduring warnings. A future built without participation will not recognize its makers when they return.